Lecture 17: The 4 Words That Are Key to Being a Teacher, Part 1. This is the 17th lecture of the leadership course. First, let me ask you, do you know about the barrel principle? This principle is quite popular and you may have heard of it. It states that the amount of water a barrel can hold is determined by the shortest stave on the barrel. This principle is also known as the law of the shortest plank or the shortboard effect. The conclusion drawn from this principle is that an individual, team, or organization must compensate for their weaknesses. Many people like to use this barrel principle, but I want to tell you that in most cases, people are not barrels, and organizations are not barrels either. Therefore, the barrel principle is wrong. In the previous lecture, I talked about how school education hinders leaders from being teachers, and there are 3 harms, one of which is that school education does not emphasize utilizing people's strengths, but rather emphasizes compensating for their weaknesses. The popularity of the barrel principle is largely due to the fact that we have been taught this way for over a decade in school education, which has made us all foolish. I want to emphasize again that the barrel principle is wrong, and compensating for weaknesses is wrong. What leaders need to do is to utilize people's strengths. Utilizing people's strengths is very important. If there is only one key for leaders to be teachers, it is the 4 words, utilizing people's strengths. Utilizing people's strengths is a key rule that you need to master, and because it is so important, we will dedicate this lecture to explaining it to you step by step, from the concept to the operation to the application. Specifically, I will discuss 2 misconceptions in thinking, 2 principles in operation, and 4 practical applications. 1.2 Misconceptions in thinking. First, let's talk about the misconceptions in thinking, mainly to eliminate 2 misconceptions. The first misconception is that a person can develop comprehensively. The principle of utilizing people's strengths assumes that a person's strengths and advantages are few, so we need to focus on these few strengths and advantages to use them. Some people may think that if a person can develop comprehensively, wouldn't they have more strengths and advantages? However, the idea that a person can develop comprehensively is a misconception because only a very small number of extremely rare geniuses have the potential to excel in many fields. Such geniuses are very rare in history, and we should not deceive ourselves into thinking that we are such geniuses. For the vast majority of people, if they want to be proficient in everything, the result will only be mediocrity in everything. For most people, if they want to be good at everything, they will end up being mediocre in everything. The second misconception in thinking is that a person can make greater progress in their weak areas. In the previous lecture, I gave an example of a sales manager who is also responsible for the financial work of the sales team. He scores 90 in sales management and 70 in financial management. You may think that since the full score is 100, this manager has only 10 points of improvement in sales and 30 points of improvement in finance, so he can make greater progress in his weak areas. In the previous lecture, I said that he should improve sales, not finance. I gave 2 reasons for this. First, improving sales by 10 points is more valuable to the organization than improving finance by 10 points. Second, I also said that in fact, there is no full score in work, so he still has a huge room for improvement in sales. You may argue that if there is no full score, he still has a lot of room for improvement in finance. This is not wrong. However, there is another reason why he should improve sales instead of finance, which I did not mention in the previous lecture. This reason is very important, which is that for this sales manager, because he is good at sales and not good at finance, it is much easier for him to improve by 10 points in sales than in finance. Therefore, he still has greater room for improvement in his area of expertise, which is sales. In general, a person can make greater progress in their area of expertise rather than their weak areas.